morning. Bring this commission meeting to order. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please silence all your cell phones and take a moment of silent prayer. I'll begin the roll call this morning with Commissioner Cos.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Jeff Culbertson's here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Stevens. All present and accounted for. Don't have anybody signed up for public comment. We'll move on to administrative business. Mr. Lothar, you have something this morning for us?
Yeah, I have a couple of items this morning. First, I'll ask Bill Knoll to come up and present. We have a change order that is not on the agenda. Nor, I'm a stickler for those things. However, in this case, we need to get it approved because it's holding up the project, and we don't want the project to be delayed any further. So, Mr. Knoll.
Commissioners, today for your consideration is change order number 3 for the ARPA culverts groups 1. Specifically, it is on ST59 and ST60. Will have the same issues as we move forward. The information was just received yesterday. We're trying to limit the amount of time that this project is set back. The issue at hand is that the design that was completed for the project, we did contract geotechnical work to be completed on the pre-design process, and it was not correctly identified in the design of the footings. So the geotechnical report stated that site soils could support a 2,000 pounds per square foot at the foundation elevation of 820. When the complete design was done, the footing was placed at an elevation of 823.45. That is 3.5 feet higher than the elevation, which is closer to the creek bottom, not below the creek bottom where you might get back into some more solid soils. So it's a very silty soil that doesn't have it had 50% of the strength capacity of the soil at a 3-foot elevation difference. This resulted in the need for rock stabilization underneath the footing, and which resulted in a change order request by the construction company, Cos Construction. As they noted yesterday, they broke down the cost of that. All of the items were already bid items except for the shot rock and the clean gravel. Those items were itemized out by the ton. The process that will need to take place is the trench will need to be dug, shot rock will be placed into it and pounded in by the ton. We'll pay that, we'll keep the tickets. The overall cost of this change order was $26,000. Specifically, it was $26,305. The project was approved as a 3-culvert project. We have 2 arch culverts on 206th Street and another up on Logan Road that's been completed. It had a 5% contingency. The first culvert that was completed on Logan Road had 2 change orders. Those change orders were for a culvert that was omitted in the construction plans for the crossroad of the gravel roadway that had to be added after the fact. Not a substantial issue, just a crossroad culvert off the side of the main culvert that needed to be completed. The second was for a width change in the saw cut. There was a variance between the OSHA standards and the design standards that the project was completed to, and so we erred on the side of safety, allowed the contractor to dig that out a little bit wider. We were acceptable with that solution just to make sure, because that culvert was approximately 30 feet deep, and we had to get down into the bottom of that creek. So it widened out. That was a $10,000 change order over the cost of the project. The total project cost is $738,464. We did receive 6 bids on this project. The second bid on the project was $813,891, so it was significantly more for that second cost. We will be discussing this with Benish. Benish is the design engineer. We do have a second structure that is identical to this, ST60, where the same issue between the pounds per square foot used of the soil strength was different than the actual design strength at the elevation proposed. So while it is an error in the design, it would have been, if it was correctly designed, this would have been a part of the cost of the project. There may have been other suitable solutions to this, like a wider footing. We would have had to do a cost benefit to know which one was actually cheaper, a wider footing versus some rock. But it would have been a county cost either way if it had been designed correctly. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Is this ARPA funds that's funding this?
This project was an ARPA-funded project in its entirety.
And the change order, are there sufficient ARPA funds to meet that?
Well, I can speak to that a little bit. So whether or not this project is fully funded by ARPA funds or the next two bridge projects that will begin in approximately 2 weeks, those projects are partially funded by ARPA and partially funded by our regular road and bridge funding, 220. So whether or not we can fully fund this all under ARPA or we have to shift some of that, we'll fund this project under ARPA. That project that we split, it may affect the cost split of that project.
Now, how do you want the motion?
Well, Commissioners, I think what Bill is saying is that with the ARPA funds, it's going to be funded until we run out of ARPA funds. So it'll be probably the next project that runs short, not this project. As far as a motion for this, it would just be authorizing the change order in the amount of $26,305, I think is what he said.
ST59.
It'd be ST59, and I would request that we just approve change order number 3. That would be simpler. There is a little bit of a variable, and if we pound in rock, it could be less, it could be slightly more, because you have to reach a suitable foundation, but it is estimated at 90 based on the engineer's calculations, 90 tons.
So I move that we approve change order number 3 per request of the Public Works Director.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, we'll begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Abstain.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 4 with 1 abstention.
Thank you, Commissioners. We will be revisiting this topic both with Benish and I'm sure with the Board of County Commissioners in the future because we have done our own analysis on the geotechnical report, and it appears that for the 4 or 5 structures that we still have to build with the contractors, there are errors throughout the design when it relates back to them utilizing the geotechnical information that they had.
Sounds all right. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks,
All
Bill.
right, thank you.
Any other administrative business, Mr. Lothar?
Commissioners, this will be ongoing, I'm sure, from now until the time we approve a budget, but I just wanted to revisit the insurance renewal because we need to get moving on a decision on that. I have asked the departments to reevaluate their budgets. Currently, originally we had told them to try to stay at 2.5% for next year. I've asked them to see if they can get that down to 1.5%. I believe if we can do that in each department and utilize some unbudgeted cash carryover, that we can get to a point where we can continue to do the 2% raise for the employees and pick up the additional costs on the insurance. We may have to make a few adjustments to some of the benefits towards the end of the year, depending on how things go, to make this work. And I mean by that, I mean the sick leave payout that we use currently and the vacation payout. We may have to make some adjustments to that for the 2025 year to make it work. We'll just have to watch towards closer to the end of the year. But I think we can do these things, but I would need your authorization to use that unbudgeted cash carryover. So what I mean by that is we budgeted for a certain amount of carryover in each fund. And you just heard the audit here a few weeks ago. once the audit is done, we know the actual cash carryover. And in some funds, there was more than we actually budgeted for in cash carryover, so we could reallocate that. Plus, if the departments can bring their budgets in at 1.5%, then I think we can do that. It's not an ideal fix, but it's an option that I just wanted to put out there to the commission. So there's still long term, we still have to look at this and really evaluate where we are with these benefits, but it's just, again, it's just an option I wanted to put out there to the commission.
Okay.
Well, Mark, my 2 cents, it sounds like a plan. I wanted to address it any way we can to make sure the employees are taken care of. To me, that's a priority no matter which other way we decide to go. And for them to even be able to look at 1.5 is credit to them, and for you to bring that up. If they can do that and everybody comes along that way, it sounds like a plan that would work.
Without exception, every department. I just put it out to them like we did a few weeks ago when we started talking about this, that we have options, and one of them is that the employee picks up the cost. Another one is, and that would also mean that we maybe don't do pay increases. And without exception, all of them said the pay increases are important, and the health insurance is important. We're afraid we'll lose staff, so they wanted to go back and revisit their budgets to see if they could find.
Well, the pay increase is so small. I think that's at least.
And there are some budgets that aren't impacted that as much.
Right.
I think I showed you that sheet, but each of them is working towards hitting the goal that I've set for them, so that we can continue offering that benefit. But at the end of the day, I would need the commission's authority and permission to reallocate those unbudgeted cash carryovers to do it.
Well, you can either pay it this way or you're going to pay it in training new employees.
Well, and my 2 cents is we don't have the option like Red Lobster or Burger King or Hardee's to close down. So the cost of doing business is what it is.
I like this plan.
You've got to do your due diligence to be as effective as you can economically, but like I said, it is what it is. We can't just close. So
I haven't seen the proposals from the departments yet. I just put this out. So once I get those proposals from the departments, I'll bring it back and talk to the board about some of that, so we have a little more detail. Because one thing I don't want to do is leverage our future for today.
Right.
So I want to make sure that they are sustainable changes that we're proposing.
yes,
I think it's great. This is why we have a county administrator. He's working on these budgets and fine-tuning these budgets, and and I'm really happy to hear that all the departments are working together. That's great.
That's going to be key.
This is a really difficult situation. I will say that in the private sector, healthcare costs are exploding. Almost everybody that's in a private job knows that they've had to take additional costs on. So whether we pass those costs on this year, maybe we won't have to, but just realize that down the road, it's probably coming because of how expensive healthcare is.
It is.
Inflation's hit everything, and our usage, I think I've shared with you, our usage justifies the increase, without a doubt. But some of that is because the costs of the services that are being provided are so high now, much higher than they were. Just like we have to pay more to retain good employees, hospitals have to pay more, doctors' offices have to pay more. That all gets passed on, and so I appreciate those comments.
I'm good with it.
yep.
We need a motion, or is it just a consensus?
Not right now. I think that when I get the proposals back from the departments, I want to just evaluate everything and make sure that this plan works before I ask for anything. But maybe next week, I'm hoping if I can get that back by the end of this week from those departments, it'll give me a couple of days to put something.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
I'd go one better than that and just allow the county administrator to make whatever cuts he needs to do to make it happen.
Probably.
I think that's the next step because we've got to make it work.
Got to make it work, because you think that you can just keep flipping employees over and it's not costing us, you got another thing.
I live that.
It costs a lot of money to train employees.
That's the biggest problem.
The only place you get money when you train somebody back is law enforcement, because if you steal somebody or they go somewhere else within a year, then you're entitled to some of that funds coming back. But that never matches up even when you go to do that.
And most of those folks are aware of that timeline. Our EMS, we have some similar things in there. They know the timeline. Once the timeline
1 year,
passes,
1 day. Yeah, I know. I lived through that
you
too.
get that notice real quick.
Yeah, I lived through that too, Mark.
And just like a side note, and I've had an opportunity to share this with a couple of commissioners, but it was just in the news here, maybe yesterday, the day before,
A couple days ago.
about Independence, Missouri,
Yeah,
looking at changing their pay plan. And they're doing that because Kansas City, Missouri last year changed their pay plan. So, and they're talking about law enforcement, but I promise you that that's just the start, and the other employees are getting that too. But the sheriff had shared with me that at a conference, Johnson County was kind of complaining that they had been losing staff because the other agencies had raised their pay, so they were losing staff. Johnson County. So they said, we're going to fix that. They're adjusting their pay plan. But the Kansas City, Missouri, currently their starting pay for officers, I believe, is around $60,000, and for sergeants now they're up over $100,000, which I probably shouldn't even say that because somebody might hear it, but it's the truth. And now Independence is looking to make those same changes. That all trickles down. It all comes back.
Domino.
We were starting to catch up, and they realized it, and so now they're like, okay, well, we'll take care of that. We'll just move on. That was my rich neighbor comment before. They're going. We have more than one, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and they're going to take advantage of the fact that they can raise those fees.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Yep, and you have to compete with anybody who's within driving distance because that's the job market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's easier nowadays.
Those were the two items.
Anything
that I
else? Okay. Anybody else have any administrative business to bring up?
Well, Mark, we're going to discuss the
Okay.
building.
No, I had just shared with you some preliminary information, but I think we're way too early to be at a point where I can commit to anything.
Okay. Well, we were, some discussion had been had, just to put it out there, about if the significant amount that we're talking about has to be obtained, that perhaps the consideration of placing that before the voters.
Vote on
The vote on the
fixing the building
the
here.
mill levy increase for the restoration of the historic courthouse that would actually save us finance costs if we had the voters approve the financing through mill levy increase, rather than us having to figure out other ways to finance.
I'd rather figure out other ways to finance it instead of just a mill increase.
Well, that's discussion to be had
That's
here.
what I'm saying. We need a discussion on that just before we wave the white flag and say, hey, we're just going to raise the mill levy.
Well, I think we need to discuss what we haven't even put out there what the total amount is, I think, at some point. But if it was going to be put on the primary ballot, it would have to be done right away. Perhaps we're too early for that or premature. It'd have to go to the general election if it was.
I'm confused because the voters can't decide whether we fix this building or not, can they?
The voters can decide whether they want to levy a mill.
Well, I understand it, but I mean, I'm not for levying a full mill to fix this building. I mean, I think we got to look at other options.
Well, maybe, and I agree with other options, of course, but
I think what Mike's talking about is let the voters decide whether they want to avoid interest costs on a bond or some of the other options that cost more in the long run.
And you know what? I don't know if that needs to go on a ballot or it can go on a survey. Stranger Township has got a survey out right now to the residents of Stranger Township for the fire department to see if they want to raise their mill levy. It's just a survey, and I need to encourage everyone to get that turned back in because I think it's June 3rd is the deadline, sometime like that. They're asking the voters or the residents of Stranger Township, do you want a mill increase for additional fire engine and building onto the building? That saves the ballot cost. That saves everything. You're just out posting.
Yeah, I'm interested to find out what their response is on that. If it's
Yeah,
better or worse than 17% is about all you get at the voter turnout.
I think you might get a better turnout just with the survey.
Yeah, maybe so. That's
Yeah.
something we can talk about too.
Whenever we get to that point, I mean, obviously, if you were going to put it on a on an August ballot, I think, and the clerk's
Yeah.
here, she could tell us it'd be very expedited if it was going to go on.
But I think what Doug's saying is maybe we could do a survey
You do a survey,
instead of a voting ballot.
and then if you have more than one option, do you want us to walk away from this building and go to Cushing? You want us to sell a few acres at the quarry for industrial uses, for contractor's yard? There's all kinds of ways to raise money.
Well, obviously, probably we are not ready to make a discussion. This is going to have to go to work session for a full discussion.
We
I
have,
think that's the plan.
assets.
And I think that's the plan.
Yeah, we're still, and like I said, we're still way too early in the process.
We need some more information before we can set the work session up.
Yeah, we're still trying to get bid documents so we can get firm numbers. That's where we're at.
It's a very significant cost, though.
It will be.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you have? Doug?
No, that was just my plug on Stranger Township. Wanted to make sure everybody gets their survey out. And then I just had a question. You've been hearing a lot about the funds missing in the Treasurer's Department. Is there any way that we can get that in our packet, blow by blow, what took place, when it happened, how it was reported, the conclusion of all these investigations, and because it's not an ongoing investigation, we should be able to get the results of that and the recommendations, what the auditors found, just to get this out so we can squelch all these rumors.
I can pull together the information I have. I can ask the sheriff because it was turned over to him, and I can ask him what the end result.
Maybe the commissioners are missing something. I think maybe we need to know for sure what really happened. Because I think we know, but some of the rumors I've been hearing, I've never heard of such things.
I know a lot of times too, when you got an ongoing investigation, you can't go any further. But it seems like to me, like Doug's saying, this is closed. And two points I'd make on this. First of all, I don't want to see it happen again. Second, I think as an elected official, we need to know, did we do everything we could to fix this? And it's not that we haven't. It's just that if we had somebody report that, whether it's wherever we have to do it at, just to say these are the steps that we went down to get where we're at.
Briefly, what happened was the county treasurer at the time came to the Board of County Commissioners and reported that there had been a theft. They had identified what they thought was the amount of the theft, and then later it was turned over to the sheriff. What happened after that with the sheriff, I don't know that information. I know that they looked into it. I don't know the results, but I can ask the sheriff's office for that. Last we talked, he had turned it over to the KPI. So
Yeah.
I can ask about that.
And there was also
And then after that, the treasurer had an audit done, hired a firm to come in and do an audit of the time where they thought these transactions, this theft had occurred. They did. They were unable to identify who had stolen the money, but they felt that they had identified the amount of money that was stolen.
Okay.
And then they made recommendations on,
Correct.
cameras and that kind of
all of the things to mitigate and prevent that from happening in the future.
It's just some of the rumors out there. I just thought, are we even
Yeah,
talking about the same thing?
And there's not hundreds of thousands of dollars involved. It was a,
Oh.
It was at the time it was $10,000 was identified.
right.
Like our auditor that was up here stated, no audit firm is going to guarantee you that there is not fraud, because there's always that opportunity.
Mhm.
With the audit that they've done and the audit that this other firm done, they have not identified any fraud. The other firm that did the audit, they identified the fraud, and they're not going to tell you that they can guarantee that there isn't other fraud, because it's impossible. You can't get. They don't. Auditors speak in very defined terms, and if they can't guarantee it, they're not going to say it's guaranteed, and there's no way they could guarantee it.
I think I'm more concerned
But
about
the changes that needed
that.
to be made were made.
That's going. I don't care if it's 100,000 or 10,000 or 5,000. It's taxpayer dollars, and I think we as county commissioners are make sure we're aware that every step was taken. And I think that's where I'm a little confused. I know it went to the sheriff's department. I talked to them, and I think it was funded out to the KBI. But if the KBI dropped it, or they said they couldn't do anything further, just bring some closure so I know where it's at.
I just
will
think that
ask.
it's been implied that this is an ongoing issue, and it is not.
No, no.
And sometimes, KBI will not tell you that there is no longer an investigation because other information could come in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the auditor telling you there's no fraud.
That's what I'm saying. If it's an open
KBI may not tell you that this is done.
If it's an open investigation, they will not
Even
put
if
out
they're
any
not
information.
actively looking into it right now.
But this has happened a few years ago, and I would think maybe they've closed it. I don't know.
Well, ultimately, it's the treasurer's responsibility.
They're an elected official.
That's right.
Yeah, they don't work for us.
So I will ask, see if we can get it.
If we can get some conclusions on it.
And then where are we with the work session with the fire district, or to have to have those questions addressed, or to
Yeah.
in an open meeting?
Yep, we have reached out to them. They have responded. Looks like the 29th is a date that they can make. So we're going to have it next week, the 29th. Will be the work session.
Okay.
And we also responded to any questions.
Okay. Thank you.
So the 29th, we're having during the day or in the evening?
It'll be during our normal work session time, after our original meeting. I think we set an exact time just so that they would know when to be here. But it'll be next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think also the other entities that are involved in that need the opportunity just to come and sit in the back if they should. So I hope they would be put on notice that that's going to occur. Because I didn't think after reading that letter we were going any further with it. But I guess that's changed.
It's an open meeting. Anybody is welcome to it.
I know. But I think it's important to invite people that are involved in that.
Yeah, I would hope it would. Just to listen.
Yep.
Because I really think that's what we're doing, is just listening.
After I've seen the questions, I'm pretty sure that's all we're doing.
But yeah, I was hoping nobody answered them.
Yeah, I did not. Okay.
Anybody have any other administrative business?
That's all I had. I'm sorry it took up so much time.
Okay, I have one thing. I wanted to wait until this session was over in Topeka before we actually moved on this, but I wanted to get a consensus from the board if I could ask staff to look into which law firm we might want to use if we proceeded with filing a lawsuit against the state of Kansas over the LAVTR funds. There was a law firm I think the school used, had some success, maybe look into using them, but basically all I'm looking for right now is consensus on the board. Do we want to try to do that? Because
I do.
I
Absolutely.
don't see any other option. At
We
this
wouldn't be
point.
in this situation. It was that, and I think just because the way it's been dropped is an insult to us and the counties and the cities. We've asked our reps, we've asked our senators to help us with this. We wouldn't be talking about these budget issues if the funding was coming
That's right.
back in now. So, I think there's a lot of other counties. That's my
That's
opinion.
That's what I was going to bring up is
Join.
we've been working
Yeah,
on
they
this the
will.
last 4 years.
They will.
I've
Yeah.
got dozens, if not hundreds, of
Yeah.
other
And
cities
we
and
can-
counties that
right.
have asked to join with
At
us.
least we need to have that discussion about doing it for sure.
I think so.
It sounds
because
like they all just need a catalyst to get it started. So I
Right.
was asking to be
And I'd be
that.
happy
we
to
led the
assist with
charge on the
researching law
LAVTR, we
firms.
can lead the charge on the lawsuit.
Okay. So
That's exactly what we. Yep.
You know,
So
'cause
could-
we would be lowering our mill levy.
4 mills. And, this keeps getting thrown out, too. A couple of our state legislators keep saying, well, it wouldn't be 4 mills for Leavenworth County. They're using the secondary formula that they came up with on their own.
Right. And
We're
see,
talking
that's
about
not
the
law.
That's
That
right.
is not the law.
We're
They
talking
have not
about the
changed law.
original LAVTR law,
Exactly.
which would be about $4 million for Leavenworth County. So if
And
somebody's
it'd
telling
be-
you that it wouldn't be,
And it'd be about
they're not using the right
$40 million
numbers.
for the life of the thing.
That's right. So
That's just the county, not the city.
Not the
Just the
cities.
county.
That's what I'm
Cities
saying.
also-
We'll get cities and
Exactly.
counties
Right.
join in on this.
They
Yeah,
would
there's-
be more than 4 mills to a majority of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
yeah. So
This
staff.
would be just to find out what our legal standing is. And
Yes.
What the
Yeah.
And the firms.
Yeah.
Right. I'll help research that with you.
Okay. Mr. Van Paris, could you look into that for us then? Finding a law firm that would probably work best.
didn't you have one lined up, sort of?
That was on a different topic.
Commissioners,
That
we'll
wasn't
make,
on LAVTR.
we'll make appropriate inquiry and report back to you.
Okay. That's all I have.
It's about time we started this. I'm good, Jeff. I'm good.
We'll move on to consent agenda.
Mr. Commissioner, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on consent agenda. Any further discussion? Begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Consent agenda passes 5-0. Next, Formal board action, consider a motion to appoint treasurer to the Reno Township Board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Connie Tornadin to the Reno Township Board.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think she's the perfect candidate for that. She has been in that area forever and very involved with the township. So,
And I received several recommendation letters for her.
Yeah.
So we'll begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Next, consider motion to approve Board Order 2024-6, authorizing the Public Works Director to take measures to rename Wood End Road to Deer Creek Road. Morning, Misty.
Good morning, Commissioners. I think what you have is a request that was brought forth by the residents to rename a small portion of Wood End Road. This is an interior road. It does not align with what I would call the major Wood End Road. In fact, it's about 1.5 miles south of it. Residents have reported they're having difficulties with location services and deliveries, and they want to make sure they're not going to have issues with 911 services. Staff have worked with the residents to come up with a name that is unique for the area, and the 911 committee and GIS and Public Works have looked at it. And so this board order will just authorize the Public Works directors to take the steps, have the signs made, and get everything changed.
So I reached out to GIS on this since that's what I used to do, and when I saw address changes, the hair stood up on the back of my neck because I know we had about
Been through them, haven't we?
Yeah, we had about 2,000 addresses that needed changed, and we worked really hard on the GIS map to get that changed to about 400 people that we had to change their address, and they still circled the courthouse and wanted to burn it down. When you change somebody's address, it makes them really mad.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to make sure that this was okay with the people who are getting their address changed, and actually this is to fix a problem. So they're all more than happy to get their address changed.
I think these individuals are in favor of and need, or feel the need to
Yeah,
have
they're having
it.
problems getting deliveries.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr.
All right.
Stevens area.
I'll move that we approve Board Order 2024-6, authorizing the Public Works Director to take measures to rename Wood End Road to Deer Creek Road.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Thank you, Misty.
Thank you.
Misty.
Thanks, Misty.
Okay. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of potential litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume open meeting at 10:05 in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioner Culverson Cause, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, and Mike Stevens, Senior County Counselor David Van Perry's, Deputy County Counselor Misty Brown, and County Administrator Mark Lofrey, and others that may be called.
Did we need 30 minutes
Yeah,
for
30.
discussion? That's
going to be quick.
well, I thought we
That's
might
my
need less than
15,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
I was
we always can talk about litigation.
Okay, I'll say.
All right. Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Or temporary.
Let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:05. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to legal interest of the county.
That's pretty much the end of our meeting. We have presentation and discussion items beginning with Vicki.
Let's see, yesterday I participated via Zoom for the Port Authority meeting, and then, also did the Workforce Partnership yesterday morning. We not a whole lot to report on either. There's some progress being made in the Port Authority to work toward, and they were working toward their budget, conversations about the budget for the Port Authority. And it was an interesting, very animated conversation during which I said, no, I will not make any comment. And then, so that's what I had going on.
Michael?
Just a couple of things. Employee cookouts this Friday, right?
Yep.
Employee cookouts
Thursday.
Friday. Oh, is it Thursday?
It's Thursday.
It's tomorrow. Okay, I'm glad.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
signed up for something, so.
Yeah, I've already brought it in. I was going to get some more, but yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Other thing is, too, I just wanted to congratulate all the seniors in
Absolutely.
high school of all the entire county. They worked hard to get there, and something that we don't hear enough of, even though we do once in a while. We've really got some excellent teachers all throughout this county that really put their heart into guiding the young folks and giving them good direction. So my hat's off to both the teachers and the graduating seniors. That's all I have.
Excellent academics,
Yeah,
and scholarships that have been
Yeah.
received by the students,
Yeah.
these graduating seniors in this county is
Yeah.
incredible,
Yep.
the amount of money.
My daughter is one of those teachers. When she went to school and said she wanted to be a teacher, I said, "Oh, are you sure?"
Yeah, mine is.
Yeah. I don't have anything this week.
Attended a lot of things, but they weren't really county business. Just wanted, once again, make that plug out there for the Stranger Township residents to fill out their survey and get it back to the township. I got to hand it to the Stranger Township Board for doing that and not putting it on the ballot and just paying for postage instead of an election.
And like I said, they'll probably get a
I
better
think you're
turnout.
going to get a better turnout on a survey than you will on a primary election. So it's important to these folks, and they do want to hear what the residents have to say.
Yep. Good way to do it.
I did have one more inquiry on, and then I'll say that, but on the Tonganoxie, where are we at on that?
Annexation?
Pretty much where we were last time you asked me that.
That seems like a broken record. Anyway, I'll talk to you about it afterwards. Very big honor that my wife and I have received this past weekend. We are going to get to go as delegates to the Republican National Convention. 15th of
Congratulations.
July.
Cool.
And so you'll see us wearing our crazy hats. But I do plan to represent Leavenworth County and brag about Leavenworth County and Kansas.
Good. It's a lot to brag about.
Last time I seen somebody local there was a picture of Willie Dove there.
Well, I'm excited. It'll be exciting.
Cool, Mike.
Very good.
That it? All right.
That's it. Except for the annexation of Tonganoxie. If they can get that all set up, I'd be so happy.
Entertain a motion.
We are motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Aye.
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 Aye.